Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. After several politically charged weeks, political parties in Pakistan have filed their nominations for the next Prime Minister. The joint opposition has nominated the PMLN leader Shehbaz Sharif as the prime ministerial candidate, while the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has floated the name of its vice chairman and former Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi. High drama ensued during the submission of the nomination papers. PTI raised objections to Shehbaz Sharif's nomination, with the party's vice president, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, engaging in a heated debate with the PMNL leader, Ahsan Iqbal.
Look, one second. Let me just read out this.
The Pakistan National Assembly will meet today at 2 p.m. local time to elect the country's new leader. Ahead of the vote, both the PTI and the joint opposition have made stark statements. Opposition leader Sharif has said that the new cabinet will be formed in consultation with allies. He also promised a new era for Pakistan. Imran Khan has arrived in the Pakistan National Assembly for the crucial PTI Parliamentary Committee meeting, where the party is likely to decide if the MNAS will resign en masse today or continue in their office. Now this after PTI made a U-turn on the earlier decision that all of the MNAS will resign if Shehbaz Sharif is elected as Prime Minister. The PTI Prime Minister candidate Shah Mahmood Qureshi clarified that the party has not to decide on the matter, negating fellow party leader Fawad Chaudhry's claim made hours earlier that the party's MNAs were to tender their resignations today. Now, after trying everything in and outside of the book, Imran Khan could not retain the Prime Minister's chair. He became the first Prime Minister in Pakistan to be unseated through a no-confidence vote. As the clock struck an hour past midnight, 174 members of the National Assembly voted in favor of the motion. In the 342-member House, the opposition needed 172 to pass the resolution. Now, PMLN's Ayaz Sadiq chaired the latter part of the session, and so he could not cast his vote, while the PTI dissenting members skipped the voting process. While the formalities to elect a new Prime Minister are underway, the question that arises is what is next for Imran Khan? Local reports suggest that a request has been put in Islamabad High Court to put Imran Khan, Mahmood Qureshi and Fawad Chaudhry on the exit control list that will disallow them to leave Pakistan. Alongside sources from the Security and Federal Investigation Agency, they say that their immigration staff were put on high alert with a directive to stop any government official traveling abroad without a no-objection certificate. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Javed Rana, who is a journalist and political and geostrategic expert from Islamabad. Thank you for being with us on this broadcast. Now, the opposition has put up Shehbaz Sharif as their prime ministerial candidate, but keeping in mind that the opposition is composed of many parties with very different ideologies, can it agree on a common minimum agenda to run the administration?
Well, the minimum agenda that they had and that they will have is to oust Prime Minister Imran Khan, something they have a success story. And the another agenda is to stay in power at least for a couple of months to make it sure that the legislation that the former Prime Minister Imran Khan had done to reform the electoral process, they would like to undo that legislation, because that legislation is more about digital voting. That legislation, they believe, if that is allowed to happen, continue, that means the overseas Pakistani, which runs into millions, their vote could be a decisive factor in the general elections whenever those are held. So I think that is their first priority, and they have their common agenda. However, obviously, ideologically, they have the differences, but something which is very much common among them, that both People's Party and the party of the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, PMLN, they all have faced corruption charges, severe corruption charges. And I think they will avail this time and they will try to basically clear themselves from all these cases, get themselves exonerated. They will go for all kind of legal manipulations, political manipulation, through which they would make it sure that their cases are not processed if they are somehow or the other not exonerated because of strong legal evidence. As we speak today, the Shehbaz Sharif, who is likely the next Prime Minister of Pakistan, he was supposed to be in a trial court. He was supposed to be charge sheeted on the charges of money laundering because there is strong evidence on how he used his PNs, his aides, his company managers, and other smaller staff to whiten the black money. And that is a very strong case. A similar case is also being prosecuted against his son, who is likely to be the next chief minister of the country's biggest province of Punjab. I think those are the bigger points for the now opposition party, the party of the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, and they would highlight it. And last night, the party of the former Prime Minister Imran Khan managed to bring tens of thousands of people on the roads across Pakistan. That is an indicator that he has managed to stoke anti-American sentiments, build up a narrative that this is an imported government imposed by the USA, and very tacitly, where people also agitated their various slogans against the top military general for supporting the opposition parties in dislodging the former Prime Minister's government.
Right. Now, before we get into that, how long do you expect this joint coalition to last? Realistically, can it complete the term?
I think it's going to be very difficult for this coalition to complete the term. This is the coalition which just a month back, they wanted a general election as soon as possible. Because at that point of time, Imran Khan was very unpopular because of the price hike after he approached the IMF's package, which turned out to be a recipe for disaster. And then when Imran Khan made it public that it is a foreign-funded conspiracy to dislodge his government, the Americans are behind it. Since there is already anti-American sentiments in Pakistan, therefore he has managed to revive those anti-American sentiments, which means that he can manage to return to power as maybe in a matter of few months if there are general elections. Therefore, the combined opposition parties would like to delay the elections, because this is a country where 80,000 people have died in so-called US war against terror. And in most recent survey, the Gallup survey of Pakistan, it said that 72% Pakistanis believe the USA is their enemy. I doubt the same percentage would be believing that India is their enemy. They believe India is their enemy, but the percentage of people believing that USA is their enemy, it seems, is higher. That is because that Americans killed 4,000 people directly inside Pakistan's tribal region in league with the political leaders who are now going to be the next ruler of Pakistan, in league with the military rulers and the political elites of Pakistan who have governed previously before Imran Khan's government. They were responsible for killing at least 4,000 people directly, and partly tens of thousands others. But there is a bigger picture that the opposition parties have their known pro-US credentials. Unlike Imran Khan, who has the history of opposing US war in Afghanistan. He blocked the NATO supply line passing from Pakistan to Afghanistan. He held demonstrations inside the tribal region, which was the hotbed of American drone attacks. So in that context, it is a bigger game, and Imran Khan, I think, has become a victim of that.
Right. Javed Rana, thank you very much for joining us with your views here on WION. Now, for further updates on this, our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik is joining us live from Islamabad. Anas, thank you for being with us. Now, political parties in Pakistan have filed their nominations for the next Prime Minister. What are the latest updates that you have for us?
Well, the latest is in about 30 minutes or so, we'll be seeing the commencement of the session formally. The Deputy Speaker, Qasim Suri, is to preside the session. He has not, remember, there were reports of him tendering his resignation as well, but it has been confirmed by the staff of the Assembly Secretariat that Qasim Suri has not resigned, and he is very much the person who will be presiding the session today. The Prime Minister of Pakistan, or the outgoing Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, is in the Assembly, is in the Parliament House. He's not in the hall right now. He's not in the session hall right now. And he is expected to vote as well for Shah Mahmood Qureshi. Now, all eyes would be on this building. That's the presidency that's behind me. In this very presidency, around after sunset, after iftar, is when it's expected that the oath of the new Prime Minister will be held. It is highly anticipated that Shehbaz Sharif, the leader of the opposition, or the former opposition, however you would want to put it, he is going to clinch the title of the leader of the House and become the new Prime Minister of Pakistan by at least 174 votes. Alison?
Right, Anas. And what do you think will be the strategy of Imran Khan going forward? Are we looking at perhaps more days of political uncertainty ahead?
Well, there is, he says he's vowing that he will be taking to the streets. He's holding a bigger gathering in Peshawar tomorrow. Today is probably his last day. Until the oath, remember, he still continues to be the Prime Minister. As I talk to you. That is something that has to be noted. Now, what is going to be the strategy that they are taking to the streets? There was an unprecedented, overwhelming majority of people coming out on the roads. Yesterday night, we saw in different parts of the country, and they held protests against what they believed, or as Imran Khan says, is a foreign imported government. So all eyes would be on that street show that Imran Khan will be putting up, and as to how long would that last for. Imran Khan says that they want an earliest election to be held. The Election Commission has said before the court that it will take at least another 7 months, whereas the government in waiting says they are going to complete the electoral tenure that is going to end next year, somewhere in October or the first week of November. So interesting times ahead in Pakistani politics. Alison?
Absolutely, Anas. Thank you very much for bringing us all the latest updates out of Pakistan.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.